Ambassador Krelnax had been waiting in line for 3 hours. His 6 limbs ached from standing in the small observation deck of his diplomatic shuttle. Outside the window he could see hundreds of other ships floating in perfect formation, all waiting their turn at the Valara Prime registration station. This was normal. This was boring. This was exactly how galactic bureaucracy worked. Krelnax sighed and checked his datapad again. Still 47 ships ahead of him. At this rate, he would reach the inspection dock by evening. Maybe. He had already watched 2 entertainment programs and answered all his messages. Now he was simply existing in that special kind of tedium that came with government paperwork. His assistant, a young Vexorian named Plix, brought him a cup of heated Nerda juice. "Sir, perhaps you should rest." "I can monitor the queue." No. "I am fine," Krelnax said, though he was not fine. He was desperately bored. "How much longer do you think?" "Based on current processing speeds, approximately 4 more hours, sir," Krelnax groaned. 4 more hours of floating in space, waiting to fill out forms that confirmed his ship was indeed a ship. His crew was indeed his crew, and his destination was indeed his destination. The galaxy had achieved faster-than-light travel, had united thousands of worlds under one council, but still could not figure out how to make paperwork less painful. Then the alarm started screaming. Krelnax jumped, spilling Nerda juice across his ceremonial robes. Red lights flashed throughout the shuttle. His communication console erupted with dozens of incoming emergency broadcasts all at once. "What is happening?" He shouted at Plix, who was frantically checking the sensors. "Sir, I do not understand. A ship just entered the queue behind us, and so? Ships enter the queue all the time. Not ships like this, sir." Plix's face had turned a pale shade of green. He turned the sensor display toward Krelnax. The ambassador looked at the readings and felt his 3 hearts start racing. The ship behind them registered as a Dreadnought-class warship. Worse than that, it was a human warship. The identification tag read UHSV Indomitable. "That cannot be right," Krelnax whispered. "Run the scan again." Plix ran the scan 3 more times. Each time the results were the same. A human military vessel, heavily armed, was floating in the registration queue like it was the most normal thing in the galaxy. The communication channels exploded with panic. Every ship in the queue was trying to contact the station at once. Station security was broadcasting emergency warnings. 3 Council defense frigates were already moving into attack positions. Krelnax activated his own communication link to the station. "This is Ambassador Krelnax of Vexor. What is a human warship doing in the civilian registration queue?" The station controller sounded as confused as Krelnax felt. "We do not know, Ambassador. We are attempting to contact them now." Through his window, Krelnax could see the human ship. It was enormous, easily 10 times the size of his small shuttle. Its hull was dark gray, covered in armor plating and weapon systems. Just looking at it made him nervous. Everyone in the galaxy had heard stories about human warships. They had ended the Vraxian border war in 6 months, a conflict that had dragged on for a century before humanity got involved. Nobody wanted to know what those weapons could do up close. The station's main broadcast channel crackled to life. "Attention, unidentified human vessel. This is Valara Prime Control. You are in a civilian processing zone. Identify yourself and state your intentions immediately." There was a long moment of silence. Every ship in the queue held its breath. Then a human voice responded, calm and almost bored. "Valara Prime Control, this is the UHSV Indomitable, Captain Sarah Chen commanding. We are here for our scheduled vessel inspection and registration renewal. We filed the proper request forms 3 weeks ago. Confirmation number 77 Alpha 3942. We are waiting our turn in the queue." Krelnax stared at his communication console. He looked at Plix. Plix looked back at him. Neither of them knew what to say. The station controller sounded equally confused. "Captain Chen, you are in a warship." "Yes, Control. The regulations state that vessels requiring Class 7 inspection must present at the facility in person. The Indomitable is due for its 3-year renewal." "We have an appointment, but you are a warship," the controller repeated, as if the human somehow did not understand this basic fact. "Correct, Control, and we are here for our appointment. Currently, we are number 53 in the queue. We will wait our turn." Krelnax could hear the panic in the station controller's voice. "Captain, warships do not come to registration facilities. You send a shuttle. You send representatives. You do not bring the actual warship. The regulation document section 12, paragraph 4, clearly states that Class 7 vessels must present for physical inspection. The Indomitable is a Class 7 vessel. Therefore, the Indomitable presents for inspection. We are happy to wait. We brought entertainment and supplies. The communication channel went silent. Krelnax imagined the controller was probably screaming into a pillow somewhere. Around him, other ships in the queue were starting to panic. A Centaurian cargo hauler 3 spots ahead was requesting emergency departure clearance. 2 tourist vessels were filing complaints. A trade ship from the Plutarian system was broadcasting a distress signal even though technically there was no distress. Krelnax accessed the public data network and searched for the filing Captain Chen had mentioned. Sure enough, there it was. 3 weeks ago, a formal request had been submitted for the UHSV Indomitable to undergo standard registration renewal. Every form was filled out correctly. Every fee was paid. Every box was checked. They actually filed the paperwork, Krelnax said in wonder. Who files paperwork to bring a warship to a civilian station? Plix asked. Humans, apparently. More Council defense frigates were arriving now. 6 of them surrounded the human warship in what was clearly meant to be a threatening formation. The Indomitable did not react. It simply continued floating in its assigned position in the queue, exactly where the traffic control system had told it to wait. Krelnax watched his sensor display as the human ship moved forward 1 position. Now there were only 52 ships ahead of it. The garbage scow from Centauri Prime had just completed its inspection. They are actually waiting in line, Plix said, his voice full of disbelief. A human warship is waiting in line behind a garbage ship. So it seems. Another alarm sounded. This one was different, more urgent. Krelnax recognized it as the High Council emergency summons. The council members were convening an emergency session. This had just become a political incident. Krelnax looked at the human warship again. It sat there peacefully, not moving except to slowly advance in the queue. Its weapons were powered down. Its shields were at minimum. It was doing absolutely nothing threatening, except existing. Its mere presence was enough to terrify everyone in the system. The ship in front of the Indomitable, a small family yacht from the Orion sector, suddenly requested and received emergency departure clearance. The queue moved forward again. 51 ships now separated the humans from the inspection dock. Sir, what do we do? Plix asked. Krelnax looked at his own position in the queue. He was still 47 ships away from inspection. The humans were 51 ships back. At the current rate, accounting for the ships that were fleeing in panic, the Indomitable would reach the inspection dock in approximately 10 hours. We wait, Krelnax said quietly. We wait and see what happens when a human warship reaches the front of the line. He had a terrible feeling that the entire galaxy was about to learn something important about humanity. He just hoped everyone survived the lesson. Outside his window, the Indomitable advanced another spot in the queue. 50 ships to go. The High Council chamber was in chaos. Security Chief Yalara had never seen so many council members shouting at once. Everyone had an opinion, and everyone thought their opinion was the only correct one. We must force them to leave immediately, shouted Councillor Vrath, a large reptilian from the Saurian systems. This is a clear violation of the peace accords. It is not a violation if they filed the proper paperwork, countered Councillor Mira, a floating ethereal whose species communicated through light patterns. They followed procedure. Following procedure is not the point. Vrath slammed his clawed hand on the table. No one brings a warship to a civilian registration facility. Yalara stood at the front of the chamber, waiting for the arguing to calm down. It did not calm down. Finally, she activated the emergency attention signal, a loud chime that cut through the noise. Council members, please. We need to focus on the facts. The room quieted, though many members still looked angry. High Chancellor Drovak, an elderly Krill who had led the council for 20 years, gestured for Yalara to continue. Thank you, Chancellor. I have reviewed the situation thoroughly. The human vessel UHSV Indomitable filed all correct paperwork 3 weeks ago. They requested a Class 7 inspection and registration renewal. They paid all fees. They received a confirmation and an assigned appointment window. But surely they did not expect us to actually process a warship, Councillor Vrath protested. The paperwork does not distinguish between civilian and military vessels for Class 7 inspections, Yalara explained. The regulation simply states that vessels above a certain size and power output Must present physically for inspection every 3 years. The Indomitable qualifies. Then the regulation is poorly written, someone shouted from the back. Perhaps, Yalara agreed, but it is still the regulation, and the humans are following it exactly. Chancellor Drovak leaned forward in his seat. Security Chief, what do we know about this Captain Chen? Yalara pulled up a holographic display. An image of a human woman appeared wearing a dark blue uniform. She looked to be in her middle years with short dark hair and a serious expression. Captain Sarah Chen, age 43 in Earth years. She has commanded the Indomitable for 5 years. Her record is impeccable. She is known among human military circles for being, as they say, by the book. She follows regulations strictly. Even stupid regulations? Counselor Mira asked. Especially stupid regulations, apparently, Yalara said. I contacted the human embassy. They seemed embarrassed but not surprised. The ambassador's exact words were, "That sounds like Captain Chen." Counselor Vrath was not satisfied. What about their military record? What has this ship done? Yalara's expression became more serious. The Indomitable participated in the final battles of the Vraxian border war. It was part of the human fleet that broke the Vraxian siege of Kalthor Station. It also provided humanitarian aid to the Pleiades colonies after the plasma storm disaster, and it was instrumental in the rescue of the Tythian refugee ships last year. So it is a warship that also does rescue work? Chancellor Drovak asked. It appears humans do not separate these functions the way we do, Yalara said. Their military vessels are expected to fight, rescue, transport, and provide aid as needed. The Indomitable has a medical bay larger than many civilian hospitals. It has a garden dome where they grow food. It has schools for the children of crew members. The council chamber fell silent. This information was strange to most species. Military vessels were for fighting. Civilian vessels were for everything else. Humans seemed to mix everything together in confusing ways. How long until they reach the inspection dock? Chancellor Drovak asked. At current rates, approximately 8 to 9 hours. However, several ships are abandoning the queue out of fear. This may accelerate the timeline. Can we ask them to leave? We can ask, Chancellor. But if they refuse, we would have to force them. That would be an act of aggression against a species that has done nothing wrong. Counselor Vrath stood up. Nothing wrong? They brought a warship into our space. They brought a properly registered vessel to a scheduled appointment, Yalara corrected. There is a difference. While the council continued debating, Yalara received a message on her personal communicator. It was from one of her junior officers stationed near the human ship. The message read, Chief, you need to see this. Attached was a surveillance recording. Yalara opened it and watched. The footage showed the interior of the human warship, captured by long-range sensors that could peek through shields when they were set to minimum power. Human crew members were going about their normal routines. Some were performing maintenance tasks, others were exercising in a large gymnasium. In one area, a group of humans appeared to be having some kind of cooking competition, judging by the way they were presenting food to each other and arguing cheerfully. Children, young humans, were playing in a recreational area under the supervision of adults. They were laughing. Yalara stared at the footage. This was a warship, a vessel designed for combat, carrying enough firepower to destroy a small moon, and inside it, humans were cooking dinner and watching their children play. She received another message. Chief, the humans just submitted a request for food delivery. They want to order from 3 different restaurants on Valara Prime. They are asking if the delivery drones can find them in the queue. Yalara closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Then she returned her attention to the council chamber. Council members, I have new information. She displayed the surveillance footage on the main holographic projector. The council members watched in silence as human crew members went about their day, seemingly unconcerned about the political crisis they had caused. They are treating this like a normal day, Counselor Mira observed. Because for them, it is a normal day, Yalara said. They filed paperwork. They came to their appointment. They are waiting their turn. This is how humans operate, but why? Chancellor Drovak asked. They have a warship. They could demand immediate processing. They could threaten us. They could simply ignore our regulations entirely. Why wait in line? This was the question everyone wanted answered. Yalara had been thinking about it for the past hour. I have a theory, Chancellor. I believe this is a demonstration. Of what? Of trustworthiness. Yalara pulled up historical data on human military actions. Look at humanity's history in our galaxy. They arrived 15 years ago. In that time, they have fought in one major war and several small conflicts. But they have never started a fight. They have never attacked first. They have always acted in defense or in aid of others. She changed the display to show diplomatic records. In every negotiation, humans follow the rules meticulously. They honor their treaties even when it disadvantages them. They are frustratingly honest in their dealings. You are saying they are trying to prove they will follow our laws? Counselor Vrath asked. More than that, they are proving they will follow our laws even when it is inconvenient, even when they have overwhelming power, even when waiting in line behind a garbage ship makes them look foolish. Yalara looked at the council members. They want us to trust them. And they are showing us that our rules matter more to them than their pride. Chancellor Drovak sat back in his chair thinking. Finally he spoke. Or they are mocking us, showing us how ridiculous some of our regulations are by following them exactly. The council chamber fell silent again. This was also a possibility. Humans had a strange sense of humor. They might find this entire situation hilarious. What do we do, Chancellor? Counselor Mira asked. Chancellor Drovak looked tired. We wait, we watch. And when they reach the inspection dock, we conduct the inspection as we would for any other vessel. If the humans want to follow our regulations, then we will treat them as we would anyone else who follows regulations. And if this is some kind of trick? Vrath asked. Then we will learn what the trick is when it happens. But I do not think it is a trick. I think Security Chief Yalara is correct. The humans are trying to show us who they are. Yalara received another update. Chancellor, the Indomitable has advanced to position 38 in the queue. Several more ships have requested emergency departure. Let them go, Chancellor Drovak said. Anyone who wishes to leave may do so. But we will not force the humans to leave. We will see this through. The council session ended. Yalara returned to her office and pulled up the live feed of the queue. The Indomitable sat peacefully among the other ships, slowly moving forward. 37 ships to go. She wondered if the human captain knew that the entire Galactic Council was watching her wait in line. She probably did, and she probably did not care. Yalara found herself almost admiring that kind of stubbornness. Ambassador Krelnax could not stop watching the human warship. 6 hours had passed since the Indomitable entered the queue, and he had spent most of that time staring at his sensor displays. The ship was now only 23 positions behind him. 23 ships separated his small diplomatic shuttle from a vessel that could destroy everything in this system if it wanted to. But it just kept waiting. Sir, you should eat something, Plick said, offering a tray of food. You have been staring at that screen for hours. Krelnax took the food without looking away. I am trying to understand them, Plix, the humans. What is there to understand, sir? They are following the rules. But that is exactly what I do not understand. Krelnax finally turned to look at his assistant. Why do they scare us so much? Plix thought about this. Because they are powerful? We have many powerful species in the galaxy. The Draconians have larger ships. The Xerillian Collective has more advanced weapons. But we do not fear them the same way. Then why do we fear humans? Krelnax looked back at the display. Because we cannot predict them. He pulled up historical files on his datapad, information he had been reviewing all day. Look at the Vraxian border war. For 100 years we fought the Vraxians. We followed the rules of civilized warfare. We had battle lines, negotiated truces, prisoner exchanges. It was terrible, but it was predictable. And then the humans arrived, Plick said quietly. And then the humans arrived, Krelnax agreed. They looked at our civilized war and said, this is stupid. They ignored the battle lines. They negotiated with Vraxian civilians instead of military leaders. They did rescue missions in the middle of combat zones. They broke every rule of engagement we had established. But they won, Plix pointed out. They ended the war. Exactly. They won by refusing to fight the way we expected, and that terrifies us. Krelnax highlighted another section of the historical data. Look at the Calthor station crisis. The Vraxians had the station surrounded, cutting off supplies. Thousands of civilians were starving. According to military doctrine, the station was lost. We were negotiating surrender terms. The humans refused to surrender. The humans did not even consider surrender. They sent 3 ships, including the Indomitable, directly through the Vraxian blockade. They took heavy damage. They lost crew members. But they broke through and delivered supplies. They saved everyone on that station. Plix looked confused. But that was brave. That was heroic. Why does that scare us? Because they did not do it for strategic reasons. They did not do it for resources or territory. They did it because, as their commander said, those people needed help. They risked a warship and hundreds of lives because of a moral belief. Krelnak stood up and began pacing his small shuttle. Do you see the problem, Plix? We can understand enemies who want power. We can understand allies who want trade benefits. But how do we understand someone who will die for strangers just because it is the right thing to do? How do we predict that? We cannot, Plix said. We cannot, Krelnax agreed. And that is why right now the entire galaxy is afraid of a ship that is simply waiting in line. We do not know if they are proving they follow rules or if they are mocking us, or if they have some other purpose we have not imagined yet. His communication console chimed. It was a priority message from the Council. Ambassador Krelnax, this is Intelligence Officer Miras. We need your insight on human behavior. You have studied them extensively. What is their purpose here? Krelnax activated the video link. Officer Miras appeared on his screen looking exhausted. In the background, Krelnax could see other intelligence analysts rushing around. Officer Miras, I wish I had a clear answer for you, but human behavior is complicated. Give me your best guess, Ambassador, please. Krelnax looked at the display showing the Indomitable, still patiently waiting. I think they are doing exactly what they claim. They are renewing their registration. But at the same time, they are sending us a message. What message? That they choose to follow our rules. Not because they must, but because they want to. They are demonstrating that power restrained by choice is different from power restrained by force. Miras rubbed her eyes. So this is a political demonstration? I do not think they see it that way. I think Captain Chen genuinely believes in following regulations. But yes, the effect is political. They are showing the entire galaxy that human warships obey council law. Or they are showing us how stupid our laws are, Miras said, by following them so literally that it creates chaos. Krelnax considered this. That is also possible. Humans have a concept they call malicious compliance. It means following rules in a way that exposes how bad the rules are. So which is it? Honest compliance or malicious compliance? With humans? It could be both. They could sincerely believe in following the rules while also being amused that their obedience causes panic. Miras groaned. They are impossible. Yes, Krelnax agreed, but perhaps that is their strength. They are impossible to put in a simple category. After the call ended, Krelnax continued watching the queue. A wealthy Plutarian merchant ship, 5 positions behind the Indomitable, suddenly broadcast on an open channel. Human vessel Indomitable, this is the merchant ship Golden Prophet. I will pay you 1 million credits to take my position in the queue. I cannot wait any longer. There was a pause. Then Captain Chen's voice responded, calm and polite. Golden Prophet, that is a generous offer, but we must decline. We do not have priority clearance for this queue. We will wait our turn like everyone else. However, if you have an emergency, you should contact the station for emergency departure authorization. But you have a warship. Yes, Golden Prophet, we do. And our warship has an appointment. We will wait for our appointment. Safe travels to you. Krelnax could hear the frustration in the Plutarian merchant's voice. You are insane. All of you humans are insane. Perhaps, Golden Prophet, but we are politely insane. Have a nice day. The Golden Prophet requested emergency departure and left the queue. The Indomitable moved up another spot. Plix started laughing. Sir, did you hear that? Politely insane. Krelnax found himself smiling too. Yes, I heard. That may be the most accurate description of humanity I have ever encountered. Hours continued to pass. More ships left the queue, unable to handle the tension. The Indomitable advanced steadily. Krelnax completed his own inspection and departed, but he kept monitoring the public feeds. By the time he returned to his embassy office on Valara Prime, the human warship was 5th in line. His colleagues were gathered around the display screens watching. Everyone in the embassy, from senior diplomats to junior clerks, was following the story. How much longer? Someone asked. At current rate, 30 minutes until they reach the inspection dock, someone else answered. Who is conducting the inspection? Junior Inspector Velix drew the assignment. The room fell silent. Everyone felt bad for Junior Inspector Velix, that poor young Corthian is going to have to board a human warship and check their safety equipment. Someone said. I would rather fight a sand dragon, another diplomat. Muttered Krelnax watched the screens. Fourth in line now, then third, then second. The ship ahead of the Indomitable finished its inspection and departed. The human warship moved to the front of the queue. This is it, Plix whispered beside Krelnax. They actually made it. The station broadcast a message. UHSV Indomitable, you are cleared to dock at Inspection Bay 7. Please proceed slowly and follow all docking instructions. Acknowledged, Valara Control. Proceeding to Bay 7. Thank you for your patience. The massive warship began moving toward the inspection dock with surprising grace. Its engines fired in precise bursts, adjusting its position carefully to avoid any other ships. Krelnax held his breath. In a few minutes, a junior inspector was going to step aboard that vessel. The galaxy was about to learn something new about humanity. He just hoped the lesson would not be taught at Junior Inspector Velix's expense. On the screen, the Indomitable completed its docking procedure. The airlock connected. A small figure in an inspector's uniform approached the warship's entrance. The airlock opened. Everyone in the embassy watched and waited. May the ancestors protect him, someone whispered. Krelnax silently agreed. Junior Inspector Velix wanted to be anywhere else in the galaxy. Anywhere. He would rather be cleaning waste recyclers on a mining station. He would rather be auditing tax records on the most boring planet in council space. He would rather be home with his mother, listening to her complain about his career choices, but instead, he was walking toward the airlock of a human warship, carrying a datapad with a standard inspection checklist that suddenly seemed very inadequate. His 4 hands were shaking, all 4 of them. The airlock door opened with a soft hiss. Velix stepped through, expecting to see armed guards, weapons, maybe some kind of intimidating military display. Instead, he saw a smiling human woman in a dark blue uniform holding 2 cups. Inspector Velix, welcome aboard the Indomitable. I am Captain Sarah Chen. Would you like some coffee? Velix stared at her. Coffee was a human beverage. He had heard of it but never tried it. What? Coffee, it is a stimulant drink. We have different varieties. Or if you prefer, we have tea, juice, or water. Whatever makes you comfortable. Captain Chen's smile was warm and genuine. I know this is an unusual inspection. We want to make it as easy as possible for you. Velix took one of the cups with trembling hands. The liquid inside was dark and steaming. It smelled strange but not unpleasant. Thank you, Captain. Please come this way. I will give you a complete tour. You can inspect anything and everything you need to see. She led him down a corridor. Velix had expected military starkness, gray walls, harsh lighting. Instead, the corridor was well lit and clean, with artwork on the walls. Actual paintings and photographs. One showed a human family. Another showed a sunset over water. A third showed the ship itself flying through a nebula. This is the main crew corridor, Captain Chen explained. We have 423 crew members currently aboard, including 37 children. Children? Velix almost dropped his coffee. You have children on a warship? Of course. Many of our crew members have families. We do 6-month deployments. We could not ask them to leave their children behind for that long. She gestured to a door they were passing. That is our primary school. Classes are currently in session. Would you like to observe? Velix looked through the window in the door. Inside, young humans sat at desks listening to a teacher. It looked like any school classroom on any planet in the galaxy. Except this one was on a warship. No, that is fine. I believe you have a school. Captain Chen continued the tour. She showed him crew quarters, each small room personalized with belongings and photographs. She showed him the medical bay, which was indeed larger and better equipped than most civilian hospitals Velix had seen. She showed him the gymnasium, the library, the recreation areas. This is the garden dome, she said, leading him into a large, transparent chamber. Velix stopped and stared. Above him, through the clear dome, he could see the stars. Below him, arranged in careful rows, were plants. Green plants with leaves and flowers. The air smelled like earth and growing things. We grow about 30% of our fresh food here, Captain Chen explained. Tomatoes, lettuce, herbs, strawberries. The crew members take turns caring for the plants. It is good for morale to have something living and growing on the ship. But this is a warship, Velix said quietly. You have a garden on a warship, why not? Just because we are prepared for war does not mean we have to live in a cold metal box. Our crew members spend months here. This is their home. She led him through more sections of the ship. The commissary, where crew members were eating lunch and chatting. The engineering decks, where technicians were performing maintenance while listening to music. The command center, where officers monitored displays and coordinated ship operations. Finally, she brought him to a corridor that was different from the others. Quieter, more solemn. On the wall was a large display with names engraved on it. Hundreds of names. "This is our memorial wall," Captain Chen said softly. "Every person here served on the Indomitable and died in the line of duty. We lost 63 crew members during the Vraxian War. Another 12 during rescue operations. We remember them." Velix looked at the names. Next to each name was a small photograph and a handwritten note. He read a few. Lieutenant Marcus Webb, he made the best jokes. He made us laugh when we needed it most. Ensign Maria Santos. She sang while she worked. We miss her voice. Dr. James Park, he saved 32 lives before giving his own. "We are a military vessel," Captain Chen said. "We are prepared to fight and die if necessary. But we are also people. We are families. We laugh, we cry, we remember our dead. This is what humans are." Velix felt something in his chest, an emotion he had not expected. These humans were not monsters. They were not mindless warriors. They were people who chose to fight for something they believed in, while trying to stay human in the process. "Captain, may I ask you a question?" "Of course, Inspector. Why are you really here?" "Not the official reason. The real reason." Captain Chen was quiet for a moment. Then she led him to an observation lounge. Through the windows they could see Valara Prime below, beautiful and peaceful. Inspector Velix, humanity joined the Galactic Council 15 years ago. We were new, aggressive, and we scared everyone. We still scare everyone. She looked at him directly. "We scare you right now, do we not?" Velix nodded, seeing no point in lying. "I understand that fear. We humans can be frightening. We fight in ways others do not expect. We make decisions based on ethics that seem strange to other species. We are unpredictable." She paused. "But we want to be part of this galaxy. We want to be trusted members of the Council. And trust is built through actions, not words. So you came here to show that you follow the rules. More than that, we came here to show that we choose to follow the rules, even when it is inconvenient, even when we have the power to ignore them. The regulations say vessels like the Indomitable must present for inspection every 3 years. So we present. We wait our turn. We respect your laws," she smiled. "Also, honestly, the regulations are written that way for good reasons. Ships need proper inspections. Safety standards matter. Just because we are a warship does not mean we should get special treatment. Everyone should follow the rules. But you brought your entire warship and waited in line for hours. You could have sent a shuttle." "The regulation does not say we can send a shuttle, Inspector. It says the vessel must present. We are literalists sometimes. We believe that if you are going to follow rules, you should follow them completely." Velix thought about this. "So you are not mocking us?" "No, Inspector, well..." Captain Chen's smile became a bit mischievous. "Maybe a little. Some of your regulations are written poorly. By following them exactly, perhaps we are pointing that out. But mostly we are sincere. We believe in laws. We believe in order. We just also believe in questioning whether the laws are good laws." "That is very human," Velix said. Yes, it is." Velix looked at his datapad. He still had to complete the actual inspection. "Captain, I need to check your safety systems, your crew documentation, your environmental controls." "Of course. I have all the data ready for you. We also prepared full access to our systems so you can verify everything personally." She handed him another datapad. "All our documentation is here, organized by category. If you need to physically inspect anything, just let me know." For the next 2 hours, Velix conducted the most thorough inspection of his career. He checked emergency systems, life support backups, crew certifications, medical supplies, food storage, waste management, communication systems, and dozens of other items on his checklist. Everything was perfect. Better than perfect. The Indomitable was maintained to standards that exceeded Council requirements. Every system had backups. Every crew member was properly certified. Every safety protocol was not just followed, but enhanced. Finally, Velix finished his checklist. "Captain Chen, I have completed the inspection. Everything is in order. Your registration is renewed for another 3 years. Thank you, Inspector. I appreciate your thoroughness. As Velix prepared to leave, he paused at the airlock. Captain, may I ask one more question? Of course. You said you wanted to be trusted. After today, after bringing your warship here and causing all this concern, do you think you achieved that? Captain Chen thought about this carefully. Inspector Velix, I think we achieved something more important than trust. We achieved understanding. Today, thousands of people watched a human warship wait patiently in line. They saw that we follow rules even when we have power. They learned that our warships have gardens and schools and memorial walls. Maybe they still fear us, but now they know us a little better. And understanding comes before trust, Velix nodded. She was right. He had boarded this ship terrified. He was leaving it thoughtful. Thank you for the coffee, Captain. Any time, Inspector. Safe travels. Velix returned to the station and filed his report. The UHSV Indomitable had passed inspection. Registration renewed. It was the most routine report he had ever written about the most unusual inspection anyone had ever conducted. Security Chief Yalara stared at the message on her screen. She read it 3 times to make sure she was understanding correctly. The message was from Captain Chen of the Indomitable. It read, Valara Control, the UHSV Indomitable requests extended parking privileges at the station. Several crew members have requested shore leave to visit Valara Prime. We understand this is unusual, but we promise to follow all visitor protocols. Please advise if this is acceptable. Yalara put her head in her hands. The entire galaxy had been in a panic for 3 days. The High Council had held emergency sessions. Ships had fled the queue in terror, and now, after all that, the humans wanted to go sightseeing. She forwarded the message to Chancellor Drovak with a note. Sir, I do not know what to do with this species. His response came quickly. Approve the request. Let us see what happens next. So Yalara approved it. The Indomitable received clearance to remain docked for shore leave. Within an hour, the first shuttle of human crew members departed for the planet's surface. Yalara deployed security teams to monitor them. Not to stop them, just to observe. She needed to understand what humans did when they were not following regulations or causing diplomatic incidents. The reports started coming in within minutes. Chief, 6 humans just entered the Museum of Ancient Civilizations. They paid full admission price and are currently viewing the Krill Dynasty exhibit. Chief, a group of humans is at the Botanical Gardens. They are taking photographs and asking the guide questions about native plant species. Chief, 4 humans are at a restaurant in the diplomatic quarter. They ordered the specialty dishes and are complimentary about the food. Report after report came in. Humans visiting historical sites. Humans shopping at markets. Humans attending a concert at the cultural center. Humans eating at restaurants, visiting parks, and asking polite questions about local customs. They were being tourists. Normal, boring tourists Yalara called Ambassador Krelnax. Ambassador, are you seeing this? Yes, Chief. I have monitors following several groups of humans. They are behaving perfectly. They are polite, curious, and they tip well at restaurants. This makes no sense, Yalara said. They brought a warship, caused a galactic incident, and now they are visiting museums? I think that is exactly the point, Chief. They are showing us that their warriors are not just warriors. They are also scholars, parents, travelers, and people who appreciate art and culture. One particular report caught Yalara's attention. A human engineer from the Indomitable had gone to the University of Valara. She was currently in a 3-hour discussion with Professor Naxil, a renowned expert in slipspace mechanics. According to the security observer, they were having an enthusiastic debate about theoretical faster-than-light travel methods. The human is arguing that biological neural networks could enhance navigation calculations, the observer reported. The professor is fascinated. They have ordered more beverages twice and show no signs of stopping. Yalara found herself smiling. These humans were impossible to categorize. They were warriors who debated physics. They were soldiers who visited museums. They followed every rule precisely while also being ready to break any rule if they thought it was wrong. At the council chambers, Chancellor Drovak called an informal meeting. Several council members gathered, along with Yalara and Ambassador Krelnax. We have been observing the humans for 3 days now. Chancellor Drovak said, What have we learned? Councillor Mira spoke first. We have learned that they are sincere. This was not a trick or a threat. They genuinely believe in following our laws. We have also learned that their military is not separate from their society, Councillor Vrath added, sounding less angry than before. Their warships carry families. Their soldiers are also teachers and gardeners and engineers. They do not divide their lives the way we do. Ambassador Krelnax raised a hand. Chancellor, if I may offer an observation. Please, Ambassador. I think humans are showing us a different way of thinking about power. Most species in the galaxy follow a simple principle. Strength must be restrained by greater strength. We create rules and enforce them with military power. If someone is strong enough, they can break the rules. He pulled up a display showing the Indomitable. But humans operate differently. They believe that strength should be restrained by choice, by ethics, by a sense of right and wrong that exists independently of rules. They follow our regulations not because they fear punishment, but because they believe that order and law are good things worth respecting. But they also believe in breaking rules when necessary, Yalara added. Remember the Calthor Station rescue? They violated multiple military protocols to save civilians. They will follow rules up until the point where the rules prevent them from doing what they believe is right. So how do we predict them? Counselor Vrath asked. How do we know when they will follow rules and when they will break them? We ask them, Ambassador Krelnax said simply. We talk to them. We try to understand their ethics. They are not mysterious. They are happy to explain their reasoning. They just think in ways that are different from most of us. Chancellor Drovak was quiet for a long moment. I think we have been approaching humanity incorrectly. We have been treating them as a threat to manage. Perhaps we should be treating them as a partner to understand. Over the next day, humans continued their shore leave. More crew members came down from the Indomitable. They spread throughout the city, visiting sites, meeting locals, and generally being friendly tourists. One group of humans organized a football game with local Velaran youths. Another group volunteered at a food distribution center. A human artist did sketches in the park and gave them away for free. Slowly, the fear began to fade. People started approaching the humans out of curiosity rather than terror. Conversations happened. Friendships began to form. On the third day of shore leave, something unexpected occurred. Captain Chen herself came down to the planet. She was not in uniform. She wore casual clothes and looked like any other tourist. She visited the council building and requested a meeting with Chancellor Drovak. Yalara was present for the conversation. Chancellor, I wanted to thank you personally for allowing my crew shore leave, Captain Chen said. It has been good for them. This has been a long deployment and they needed rest. You are welcome, Captain. Your crew has been exemplary visitors. I also wanted to apologize for the disruption we caused. I genuinely did not anticipate that our registration renewal would cause such concern. Chancellor Drovak studied her. Did you not, Captain? You are an intelligent woman. You must have known what bringing a warship here would do. Captain Chen smiled slightly. Perhaps I had some idea, Chancellor. But the regulation does require vessel presentation, and I thought it might be useful for the galaxy to see that human warships follow council law. So it was partially a demonstration. Yes, sir, but also partially just following the rules because they are the rules. It was both things at once. Humans are complicated that way. I am beginning to understand that, Captain. They talked for another hour. Captain Chen explained human military philosophy, their approach to ethics, and their hope for humanity's place in the galaxy. Chancellor Drovak listened carefully, asking questions and genuinely trying to understand. When the meeting ended, Chancellor Drovak made a decision. He called an emergency council session and proposed a new initiative, the creation of a cultural exchange program with humanity. Officers from the Galactic Council would train with human forces and vice versa, not to learn military tactics, but to learn how to think like each other. The proposal passed with strong support. The UHSV Indomitable departed Valara Prime 4 days after its inspection. As it prepared to leave, Captain Chen sent one final message to the station. Thank you, Valara Control, for your patience and hospitality. Before we depart, I am transmitting 17 suggestions for regulatory improvements to make the inspection process more efficient for all vessels. These are offered respectfully and are based on our observations during our wait. We hope they are useful. Fair winds and following seas. Indomitable out, Yalara opened the attachment. The suggestions were detailed, well-reasoned, and actually quite good. They would significantly improve the inspection process. They spent 3 days causing chaos, and then they try to fix our bureaucracy, she said to Ambassador Krelnax, who was with her at the control center. Very human, he replied. Yes, very human indeed. 6 months later, all 17 suggestions had been implemented. The inspection process was faster and more efficient. Ships no longer waited for hours in queue. The incident, which became known as the Valara event, was now taught in Council diplomatic academies. The lesson was simple but profound. Humanity's greatest strength was not their weapons or their tactics. It was that they genuinely believed in the principles they claimed to follow. They believed in law and order, but also in justice and compassion. They believed in following rules, but also in questioning whether the rules were good. They were warriors who grew gardens. They were soldiers who taught children. They were capable of terrible violence and profound kindness. Often at the same time, they were, in other words, human. And the galaxy was slowly learning that being human meant being complicated, contradictory, and completely sincere about all of it.